Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at this Postgraduate Communications and Media Programme virtual open event. Today, I'm joined by Jonathan Wright and Ayanora, who will introduce you to the programme and the courses within the programme and give you some context. Jonathan, your screen is now sharing.
That's reassuring to know. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Thank you and welcome to this. Thank you and welcome everyone to this webinar. We're an open virtual open day. Anyway, either way, we're really pleased to have you here, and a special hello to those of you watching on YouTube as well. So this is going to be as informative as I can possibly make it. We're going to be talking about the communications and media program offer in terms of the undergraduates. Those courses include, oh, good, it does work. Those courses do include a master's, MA in Media Communications and Critical Practice. We have a master's degree in Public Relations, and we have a master's degree in Advertising. Some of you will know that we also have equivalent offers at the undergraduate course, and I can talk a bit about the relationship between how the master's degrees and undergraduate degrees talk to each other and collaborate as we go through. My name is Dr. Jonathan Wright. I am the Program Director of the Communications and Media Program. Essentially, that's another way of saying head of department. I look after the program, and I'll be talking a little about the course leaders for the 3 MAs that we're talking about in this session as we go through. We're also joined by Ayanora, who is currently a student on MA Public Relations, but as an added bonus, also did our BA in Advertising, so can speak to those particular areas. Don't know if Ayanora, you want to kind of quickly open your microphone just to say hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be involved and open to answer any questions you may have after the presentation. And I'm willing to tell you anything about how the course went, what you can learn, and all the opportunities that come with them. And yeah,
Brilliant.
Shortly.
Fantastic, thank you. And I have to say I'm particularly pleased that you're here to give that other perspective, that real life perspective. So yes, if you have any questions for Ayanora, please do put them in the chat, and she'll be very happy to answer them. But let's start off with a glimpse of the London College of Communication.
You have something to say. You know it, we know it. But how can you show it? Creativity can be challenging. Maybe you'll do something unexpected. Dream up an idea, then flip it on its head. Maybe you'll look a little deeper, imagine new futures, tell new stories, make people feel things. Maybe you just don't know how to show it, and you try one way and then another way, and keep trying and failing until you find the right way. Your way. Because whatever you have to say, however big or small it might feel, you owe it to yourself to say it. Take your idea, make it a reality, and then set it free. Creativity can be challenging, sure, but guess what? You're up for the challenge. So, what are you gonna say?
Gives you a sense of what we are at the LCC. So the London College of Communication is a particularly has a very good reputation for its industry-facing courses. You are here indeed to learn a little bit more about how we deal with the subjects of public relations and also the world of advertising. MCCP, which is the third course we're talking about today, obviously has a relationship between the various different industries. And I think one of the things that's probably best to do is for me to wait until I can talk about the particular courses to explain exactly how they fit into the LCC brand. Just to let you know that the LCC is composed of 3 schools. So we're in the School of Media, which I'll talk about in a second. We also have the School of Design, and we also have the School of Screen. So each school represents a different creative skill set and intellectual skill set. But I'll talk a bit more about what we are and who we are in the Media School in a second. One of the most sort of kind of key features, I suppose, of the teaching and learning and research environment that we have within the London College of Communication is the way in which we are trying to support our students with what we describe, I suppose, as the kind of power of storytelling. In some respects, storytelling, narratology is central to all the courses that we deliver, particularly within our program. And obviously, the London College of Communication is one of 6 colleges from across the University of the Arts. We obviously have a different brand, a different USP to our other kind of sister colleges. And in terms of how we're ranked on the stage, and one of the reasons people apply for a course at the LCC is because the UAL is ranked number 2 in the QS World University Rankings for our subject of art and design. And we've also been named as one of the top 5 greenest universities and highest ranked London universities in the Green League. And we've also moved up from 45th place to 15th place this year in the Guardian rankings. So the Media School, as I said, is one of 3 schools that can be found within the London College of Communication. We have across the hallway, if you like, the School of Design. We have the School of Screen. But our program is in LCC's Media School. That's got the most kind of comprehensive portfolio, I think, that expands the disciplines, I suppose, of advertising, of publishing in journalism publishing, of public relations, media communications, photography, and journalism. So there's the Media School. There's within the Media School, sorry, there's communications and media, that's us. There's journalism publishing, and there's also a photography program. We do have some synergies, we have some conversations, we have collaborations, but I'll touch upon that a bit as we go through. So I have another example here, a slightly more bespoke video that tells you a little bit more about the School of Media.
Media is everywhere. Media is everything. It's the print, billboards, photographs, and the pixels on our screens. It's words and images that make us feel. It's our hopes, our anxieties. It reflects us and connects us and constructs us in our societies. Media is culture, art, identity. It defines and documents the contemporary. It expresses and navigates disruption, challenge, and uncertainty. Our Media School is a diverse community with 1,500 students and staff in London, a truly global city. We collaborate across disciplines creatively. We build your confidence and build your networks. We support you to achieve your best work. We connect academia with practice and practice with industry. We share theories about the way media works and operates, the reasons how and why it can make someone laugh or cry. We explore the power of platforms and networks and concerns about privacy and ownership, the impact of the visual and of writing and speech on our politics, the knowns and unknowns of cultures driven by the ethics of digital and big data, the power of the algorithmic. Through thinking and researching and learning by doing, we become conscious, critical communicators and ethical content producers. We transform ourselves and the world around us. We're future leaders, journalists, photographers, copywriters, comms directors, creative directors, planners and publishers, curators, marketers, editors and producers, creative media entrepreneurs across tomorrow's industries. From printing plates and pamphlets to publishing platforms, propaganda to populism, deep fakes to fake news, Facebook to filter bubbles, AI to VR, activism to identity politics, brands to branding, art to artistry, mainstream mass media to memes. Promotion culture, popular culture. In the Media School, we explore the global nature of everything.
It's a really good kind of reflection of the variety of things that we do within the Media School. And I hope you noticed that the kind of notion of telling creative stories or that kind of framework around communication is really very important. So a few words about the kind of activities that you find within the LCC and within the Media School. One of the reasons why we have so many people apply, both at postgraduate but also undergraduate level. basically LCC is very much an established institution. Was a long time ago the London College of Printing, established institution with a recognized success, as I've said, in terms of its industry-facing teaching and learning and creative practice. We are very well known in terms of our pioneering forms of kind of education. And in the last few years, we have considerably increased, particularly within our program, our use and implementation of forms of technology in our teaching and learning, and also those forms of resources that are available to our students in terms of their creative practice as well as their intellectual kind of endeavor. And the aim is for us to create graduates that will not just understand, but also will shape the future of their respective kind of industries. And so therefore, some of the changes that we've made in the last few years to the undergraduate and portfolio and our delivery have been driven largely by both institutional changes, but also the changes in what it means to work within advertising, public relations, and the media and creative industries. One of the key things that attracts many people to the LCC is its global perspective, and global not just in terms of its student ratio. We have a large number of international students, particularly within the comms and media program, but we also have an internationalized and diverse selection of staff right across the media school. And I'd say that's particularly true of the communications and media program, which has academics and practitioners and pedagogues from a variety of different kind of cultural contexts as well. So we come from all over the world to study and teach here, and that's a key feature, I think, of the courses that we run, both within this program and other programs. So our courses are very much kind of informed, I suppose, and this is going to sound rather kind of cliche, but our courses are informed by the global. One of the things also to mention, excuse me, is that our curriculum is not just driven by the notion of the global, but we also, our courses are driven by what are the University of the Arts principles. So we put ideas to do with global environmentalism, social justice and racial justice. These are key principles that inform our teaching and learning, and they are key things that frame how we frame debates within our respective areas. And also there's a very strong emphasis within our staff profile, not just on academic research active staff, but also staff that engage with knowledge exchange, involving collaborations and exchanges with external organizations. Again, adding to that focus that we have on industry-facing curriculum. A little bit kind of repetitive, but we do have staff expertise from a variety of different locations. So students on our course experience academics, such as myself, people who write and publish in a particular kind of area. We also have members of staff who have a long, deep interest and experience in respective media and creative industries, and also an interest in research and an interest in teaching and learning. So, for example, the two course leaders that we have for MA Public Relations and MA Advertising both have strong industry links, as well as very thorough academic credentials. And on MA Media Communication and Critical Practice, that course team features some highly well-published academics, both nationally and internationally recognized within the media and communications communities. So the academics that we have on the team are very much focused on where their subject's going next, and also being part of those future-facing conversations. I think it would be really remiss for me not to mention also the fantastic technical team that we have in our program. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but we have invested a large amount in terms of resources and staffing to provide our students with increased access to mainly digitized media, creative content materials. And we now have a really great core technical team in place who are working alongside both students, but also academics. And they're actually quite kind of central, not just to the delivery of the course, but they're also part of the thinking and the design process. So a broad kind of family of job families involved there. Our courses, obviously, because they're at level 7, they're master's course, they are intellectually engaging, they're kind of rigorous, but we also try to engage, very successfully, I think, a combination both of intellectual curiosity and inquiry, an understanding of the contemporary debates within the media and creative industries, advertising, public relations, and the media communications industry more broadly. But we also integrate within that delivery a strong emphasis on the relationship between the practical and the theoretical. So there are opportunities in most of the units that are delivered across the 3 degrees. I'm going to be talking about this afternoon. For students to get involved in that kind of not just the critical approach, but also the practice of public relations, the practice of advertising. And in MA MCCP, there's a strong emphasis there on audiovisual production for online content. So again, thinking about the balance between theory and practice, it is kind of framed particularly in relation to advertising and public relations around the futures of their particular industry kind of focuses. Obviously, as I've said, and this is something I'll talk about in a bit more detail when I talk a little bit more about what the particular degrees do or how they work, but there is a real strong focus, not just within the delivery of our curriculum, but also how the assessment's designed, getting industry partners on board to kind of shape individual units and shape particular assessment points. This is something that is a clear and a strong USP of the kind of courses that we run. And obviously, and I'm rushing along here because I'm so eager to tell you about the units themselves. Obviously, we also have embedded within all of our degrees clear employability strands. This speaks not just to the postgraduate experience, but also the undergraduate experience. And I'll explain in a bit more detail as we go through public relations, MA, MCCP, and advertising, where those employability opportunities are embedded within the curriculum, our approach to entrepreneurialism, the ability to sell and understand yourself in a chosen industry. And one of the things that we develop throughout that student journey is a development of individual strengths and weaknesses in relation to job opportunities. And as I'll unpack as we go through, there are plenty of opportunities for students to have real life engagement with stakeholders within their chosen industries and opportunities to kind of engage in a very kind of fulsome way. I mentioned earlier on about the investment we made in terms of the resources for the program. We do have an excellent set of resources right across the particular college, but I think for this particular conversation and what you might be most interested in, we have developed over the last 2 years a specific creative content space. So we've got a content creative suite, which is essentially a multi-purpose studio for audiovisual recording. We've got multiple kind of editing spaces and a digital sound pit. We also have a sound lab, which is designed specifically for those students engaging. Seems to be primarily podcasting, but I would broadly say kind of radio. We have a social media monitoring room, which links into the data and social analysis elements of particularly public relations, but also to some extent advertising as well, where we think about how we can profile audiences and the role that social media plays within that. Oh, what else have we got? We have got and we've also got a digital sound pit. So we have places where students can develop their audio visual work. That's not to say we don't have other technical spaces. We have digital suites within the university and beyond, but I want to really focus on the kind of resources that you as prospective applicants or when you arrive, what resources that you would have. And as I said, we've got some fairly useful specialist spaces and facilities that I explained. And I think the one that's most relevant to the 3 degrees I'm talking about this afternoon is that digital sound pit, and also the sound room, and also the TV studio or the filming studio we have, which has the latest forms of technology, including green screening. something I would suggest you have a look at if you have a chance to come and see us on site. Just a bit of a heads up as well. We are moving from our current location in Elephant Castle right across the road to where the shopping centre was. It is no longer a shopping centre, but it's now a building site. It's going to be our new site. Very exciting. Lots of really innovative ways of rethinking the way we deliver practice within those spaces. But we expect to move in to that space in 2026. And we update students when that happens. But certainly there's a huge amount of investment taking place in this new building, and it's really kind of focused on the ways in which we can most efficiently deliver our curriculum in a very exciting way. So now coming to the moment you've all been waiting for in terms of the communications and media program, what it's about, and this is my opportunity to maybe open the floor to Ainhoa as well, as I talk a little bit more detail in terms of what exactly happens within MA Advertising, Public Relations and MA CCP. But just to say a few words about the Communications and Media program. As I said, small sip of water. As I said, we got three postgraduate degrees that we're talking about today. We also have civil courses in our undergraduate provision. So we've got a course in media communications, we've got a BA in advertising, a BA in PR, and a BA in contemporary media cultures, all of which kind of provide really interesting kind of synergies in terms of teaching and learning and also sort of staff exchange between the postgraduate teams and the undergraduate teams. It fits into the LCC in the sense that we are a communications and media program, and so therefore we're partly the communications in the LCC. And one of the things that we've been doing over the last 2 years, and this is dramatically reshaped the way in which we think about a curriculum and the way we deliver it, is that we have over the last 2 years reimagined our curriculum across the undergraduate and postgraduate degrees to focus on 3 interrelated sort of strands. So our teaching and learning is driven by the fact that we want our students to be creative, we want our students to be critical, and we want our students to also have the best opportunities in relation to employability. So these 3 strands are the core principles or things that you find within the DNA of all the courses. So there's going to be elements of all 3 in every unit that we create. And it's a really driving force in terms of how we design and deliver our curriculum. And hopefully, as I unfold what's happening in the various different degrees, it'll become a little bit more clear how those 3 strands work in practice. So where shall we start? I think we shall start with MA in advertising. Now, the MA in advertising that we offer here, and often there's a kind of question of why would you do an advertising or PR course in what is essentially an art and design institution? And what I would say that our MA in both advertising and also public relations is different because we look at these industries through a kind of critical and creative lens. So on MA advertising, you get an opportunity to develop your knowledge and critical and analytical skills to have a look at this rather diverse landscape of advertising and those emerging marketing and communication and media industries. We're training our students to go into an industry that may well not exist just yet, that is constantly changing. And so there's a real focus in terms of the delivery in terms of the rapidly changing ecology of advertising, its relationship to other promotional communication industries, its relationship, for example, to forms of promotional cultures in relation to kind of public relations. We have a look with your tutors and we consider current challenges. We think about how our students can develop a creative practice and a really strategic understanding of advertising effectiveness, helping our students to think about within the advertising industry, which of the particular job families best suit their approach. We apply a mix of innovative and traditional thinking. We have a look at traditional forms of research methods. We have a look at notions of the digital in relation to that point. A lot of our units are framed around solving problems, developing, creative solutions. And I think the most important thing that I want you to take away from this degree, but I think it's true of the other three that we're looking at here, is the fact that we're thinking about what are the transferable skills that are necessary to exist within whatever the media and creative industries looks like in the next decade or so. So we use innovative approaches to researching audiences, mapping user journeys. We engage a lot in terms of the kind of the area of social media for very kind of obvious reasons. And we think about advertising in terms of kind of creative campaigns. So there's lots of opportunity to think, write, and make stuff in relation to the advertising industry. But all the critical practice, and this is not only true of this particular degree, it's true of all the degrees that we have. The critical practice that we require our students to engage in is always underlined by some kind of theoretical bedrock. It's always underlined by some kind of intellectual kind of inquiry. So there's a range of various different things that we look at on this course, which enables you to engage both creatively, but also think critically and develop those professional skill sets and strategies that will enable our students to find their way into the advertising industry, or refine their way into the advertising industry for those who take some time out of their career to come to us to do their master's degree. And I'll come to this later on, but we do have an opportunity. We also have the final major project, which is a key feature of all the postgraduate courses, which is the kind of calling card to the next step for many of our students when thinking about and consolidating the learning and thinking about where they want to go next. Also worth mentioning, this is true of some of the other degrees as well, but there's also opportunities to develop your online Adobe skills, editing skills that are part and parcel of the creative aspects of the unit. Sorry, my laptop has decided to freeze at this point, not anymore. So in terms of where our students have been and what they've done, in the past, our students have worked on projects that have looked at voice assistants like Alexia, with a new conversation design agency, Alexandra, developing voice prototypes, as well as media agency networks. Our students have engaged in research projects for Genius Steels, rather, which is a global consultancy, 5G, smart out of home, and lots of other experimental marketing data organizations. They've been enrolled in producing creative campaign solutions for, we've worked with One Young World, Procter & Gamble, and WaterAid. And we're also closely aligned with the LCC Branded Content Research Hub, which is headed up by one of our professors, Jonathan Hardy, that looks at the way in which industry practitioners and civil society think about how branded content is regulated. The hub is also supported by the Branded Content Marketing Association, and we are also accredited by the Institute of Data and Marketing. So our students are given an opportunity also to gain an industry qualification in digital marketing as part of their studies. Thinking about the student journey in relation to MA advertising, in the autumn term, we focus on content, audiences, and creative skill sets. Provides a really good foundation for developing a portfolio, which is a big part of the components of our students. So you learn how to be a creative, a planner of hybrid events. There are industry talks, there are kind of briefs, and these things are embedded really from the beginning of the course. Then in the second part of the course, or term 2, we take a kind of shift to look more closely at the technological and innovation that is impacting and reframing advertising. And there's a really good opportunity for collaboration and understanding of various different trends in digital advertising, and also further opportunities to work on industry briefs and also collaborate with other students within the university. And then in the final phase of the course, which is the sort of summer term and then the autumn term, students focus on their final major project, which is tailored to individual student interests. It's an opportunity for students to find a particular thing or a niche that they're most interested in and they want to develop. Different students take different approaches to this project. Some students decide to identify a particular problem or question that the industry might have and to work on that and to use that as their calling card to the next step, the context within the industry. But suffice to say that the final major project is a really important part of all the undergraduate provision, a really exciting opportunity for students to develop their own skill sets and interest. And obviously, these projects are supported by extensive one-to-one supervision with tutors and also extensive forms of kind of research methods. Question is, again, who studies MA advertising? Well, we do attract people from within the industry who want to take a break from their work to up their game in terms of their profession, to develop their critical skill set, to get a different perspective. We also obviously attract graduates who have come from a related area within sociology and humanities and now have decided that they want to focus on a particular industry. And we also have students from who are also very successful in other areas of the creative media industries and want to maybe hone their focus or shift their career focus more toward advertising. So it is a master's degree rather than an apprenticeship. So it is a course that's highly focused on being kind of critical of the industry it's kind of engaging with. And very much kind of focused on thinking about how that future is going to be developed. So those are the kind of people who come onto our advertising course. And when students apply or applicants apply to this course, we really do look for personal statements that really kind of capture that enthusiasm, capture their interest on looking at advertising, not from a traditional necessary marketing point of view, but thinking about creative content in relation to the advertising industry. I did say that we have various industry partners as well. This will sound a bit like a kind of list, but I think it's worth sort of sharing some of the organizations that the team have developed, relationships that the team have developed over the last few years. We have a unique kind of industry focus, and it's very different to the way in which we have to other institutions. To make a kind of critical sense of the industry as a whole, we have a relationship with Advertising Week Europe, and the link there is this is a comment by Rebecca Evans, who talks about what RMA does, which is unusual. We also have Oliver Wyman. This is a partnership that's given us a chance to think about particularly advertising in relation to tools and technologies, and having a look at how forms of digital technology are being transformed. Digital technology are transforming forms of advertising. And we also have a relationship with MediaCom, which I think we're hosting, or UAL is hosting this year. And this gives MA advertising students an opportunity to, again, engage in practical exercises. MediaCom come in and provide live briefs. And it's a really very important aspect of the kind of future intern opportunities which students have with graduation. So that's some MA advertising. I'm very aware that there's possibly more information that I could give, but I've only got a limited amount of time. So if anything kind of crops up in your head in terms of anything you'd like more detail on, please do pop a question in the chat. The next, we're going to come to MA Public Relations. MA Public Relations is, again, a course that is blended of a balance between a high kind of criticality and theoretical dimensions of the media creative industries, particularly public relations, but it's also involves an extensive amount of kind of engaging in the more creative aspects of PR. I think it's also important to mention that our particular MA and PR is accredited by professional and industry bodies like the CIRP, which is the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. We've also accredited by the Public Relations and Communications Association, and also the International Association of Business Communications. We also, and this is partly where our degrees benefit from the wider context of being within the LCC. We also benefit largely from LCC's connections to industry and its heritage with film, design, journalism. And obviously it kind of goes without saying, but the synergies, or the obvious synergies there are between our courses and some of the courses you find within journalism publishing, and even to some degree photography, it kind of explains why it's why you would come to kind of study these areas within this particular kind of context. And obviously we are located in the heart of London, and so we benefit also from our location. But the question is, well, who studies public relations? Well, I think this is a really good opportunity to bring in Armand in a second. So why did you join MA Public Relations? Sorry to put you on the spot. We didn't rehearse any of this, you know.
Well, before I studied BA advertising, as you said in the beginning, and it seemed like the perfect thing to go to public relations. And I chose it based on the fact that in LCC, you can not only learn about public relations, but actually practice it in a creative way and practice it inside our building. Where I saw that we had many projects which are connected with campaigns and building portfolio, and spaces where you can actually put your knowledge into practice and learn everything you possibly can about the industry. And from me being that course, I'm happy to share that we had the opportunity to learn about campaign management, teamwork. So we had a great opportunity to collaborate, as you mentioned, with different real industries who gave us briefs and projects to make. And it wasn't just a presentation to be made. We actually learned how to present it in front of the people who gave the briefs. And that built a lot of confidence and gave us the chance to build our network and connect with probably some of the industries we want to go to. Also, the course wasn't only concentrated on one thing, because as we know, it's a big media and so many places you could go forward. So some people come for learn about fashion, some came for learn how to be more strategic, learn about different specific social media like TikTok, Instagram, or even being entrepreneurships. And all of those things you're able and kind of free to explore, learn more about it, and make your decision of which exact thing you want to concentrate more and continue building up for your portfolio. So those things were maybe the main ones that made me apply and study MA Public Relations, especially in LCC. And yeah.
That's amazing. That's exactly what I was wanting to try and find out. And I really like the way in which you've identified the emphasis on being kind of both practical, but also being very creative. And I think this is the kind of, because of the unique environment in which we are positioned as a kind of program within a media school that's got some creative practice alongside it. It's quite clear how the synergies work. But thank you very much for that. That's great. So thinking about the journey, and I know I talked about the opportunities to kind of collaborate, and that collaboration takes place both across course teams, but also opportunities to work with other organizations, external organizations, and we mentioned kind of Unilever here and Lifeboat brand, but just to think about how that kind of journey works within MA Public Relations. The journey works or begins in the first term, where we look at contemporary theories around public relations and the kind of promotional kind of creative industries. And we have a look at areas to do with persuasion and influence and public and opinion, which are the heart of the kind of public relations process. We also have a look at organizations. We think about reputational management, alongside a lot of kind of extensive discussions around that broader geopolitical, global kind of economic debates and frameworks in which public relations works. I talked earlier on in the slide about the emphasis of the global. Well, I think this is a part of the discussions that we have on all of our postgraduate kind of provision in terms of where these respective institutions sit, not just within the national, but also the kind of global landscape. The next phase of the course, the following term, we look more closely at specifics of PR messaging and influences. And we do this through an engagement of in-class activities, workshops. We have live briefs. We have lots of teaching and learning strategies that help students develop their writing skills for media and advising on interviews. We also take a clear look at the impact of the digital on the area and digital communications, the increasing relevance of social media, and the ways in which social media, in some respects, is a kind of space where advertising and public relations and all various different forms of communication strategies meet. And so we have a look at what creativity means within the context of using digital media and what that says about traditional forms of public relations practice. And there's also an opportunity to work with an external client in the collaborative unit that runs in that phase. Then the final moment of the public relations, MA Public Relations student journey is this final major project, the final part of the degree. And that covers the summer and autumn terms where students embark on their final major project, which, as I said, in relation to advertising, is an opportunity for students to find their niche, to find a particular area that they've studied or an area that has been touched upon that they want to develop further. And many of our students use the final major project as a way of developing their critical and analytical skills. And many students tend to, as do the advertising students, find some kind of constructive response to an issue or a thing that's happening within the world of PR and using that as a way of kind of marketing themselves for the next step in terms of their career. As I said, we are associated with bits of industry. I've mentioned about PRCA and the CIPR. We're also an IABC member. We also, I think it's worth mentioning that we're also benefiting from the LCC-wide activities, such as the graduate residence program. We've also got the industry mentor program going on. And so just to reiterate that industry, there's a very strong industry practice in terms of the teaching and learning, the delivery, and the role of guest speakers and the opportunity for mentoring opportunities that go through. And here, sorry, I'm tripping over my words. And Nora, is this something that you've had a chance to engage with yet in terms of an industry presence on your course?
Yeah, actually we did already. We had the opportunity to see and connect with many guest speakers who were willing to give us very good insights of what is actually happening now in the world. Even some of them, when you ask the right questions, they tell you even some secrets and some loopholes and interesting knowledge you could use for succeeding in the industry or learning more about your specific area that you're looking for. Like I said, the live briefs are great because even though you're not in the area of industry stress or work where the clients are leaning on you, you actually can build your creativity and strategic thinking to create something that's big without limitation of a budget. We did have a budget for one of our briefs, but again, we're free to build a campaign that has never been seen before and could be a little bit hard to do, but at the same time, really creative and smart thinking. And yeah, our course is really well built and a balance of the things you can expect. And also the mentorship program from LCC. You were never alone as a student. You can be in the teams, and as we mentioned, there are many spaces where you can practice, have like some academic support or student support, and even build more and more of your own portfolio achievements, or just feel more confident in your practice, which for me, it's amazing thing for the big industry, especially because we're in London and there are so many options, but the course made us be strong and smart about it and really be able to think critically and manage to be different and successful, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and that in some respects you've spoken rather well to the ways in which our students kind of go on to achieve high things. We have an example here of our student Gina, who ended up winning a final stage for the Prera Master Thesis Award for Excellence. And yeah, I mean, she talks in this sort of statement here, which I'm not going to read out for you, but you can sort of see here that it's great in terms of the kind of culture, the students, the tutors, but also that opportunity to engage with sort of the broader kind of field of public relations. I'm conscious of time, but I do have last but most certainly not least, I want to introduce a few details around our MA in Media Communications and Critical Practice, which in some respects I would say sort of sits at the intersection between a lot of the conversations that we've been having in this course. MA Media Communications and Critical Practice is largely a kind of course that interrogates contemporary media theory and aspects of cultural theory, but it's embedded within creative practice. So our students get to produce creative content for online material. There's a particular focus on the course currently around forms of film production, but we also kind of integrate that with a very sort of strong professional industry practice or professional practice mode. So the course is basically encourages students to think critically about the role of the media in a kind of more kind of broader kind of theoretical framework. We have a look at the digital age, we have a look at emergent technologies, but we also have a look at the kind of social and cultural impact that the media has on the ways in which we think about society. I talked about before about the ways in which we embed the University of the Arts principles. I'd say that media communication and critical practice resonates a lot around questions to do with the environment, questions to do with sort of social justice more generally. And also there's a large opportunity for students to think about issues to do with structural inequality and kind of what we broadly describe as kind of racial justice. So our students get a really sound understanding of key theories around media communication. They get to apply their knowledge critically and also creatively. And as I said, we also get a chance to sort of think very seriously about diversity, equality, identity, as well as environmental and ethical challenges. And students are given the opportunity to express that criticality, not just in the traditional essays and writing that you might associate with traditional forms of postgraduate education, but our students are also given opportunities to express that criticality, express that vision through the creative process using some of the resources that I mentioned previously that we have developed over the last 2 years around the digital sandpit and the creative content suite. So what you hopefully will kind of expect is we deliver our course, and I'm mentioning kind of podcasting here because it's a kind of central part of some of the units that run, particularly in the second and third phase of the master's degree, but there's lots of opportunities to work in terms of traditional forms of lectures and seminars. We run more practical workshops. There's opportunities for students to engage in online content creation as part of their assessment. Our briefs are at least industry facing, if not set by the industry itself. It's a course that has, I would say, a high degree of academic rigor. And we introduce our students to a range of various different practical skills as well as critical skills that sets us up, our students, for a really positive experience in terms of their intellectual inquiry. They're currently working on a collaborative project with the World Health Organization, and working on, again, speaking to our kind of social purpose and environmental justice aspects of the degree. And just to give a small kind of peek of what happens at the beginning of the course, which really sort of sets the tone, following a kind of extensive induction into the program where you're familiarizing yourselves with everything to do with the university. There are 2 introductory units that our students do. There's Analyzing Contemporary Media, which is about the theories of media communication. Students that we get on this course come from a variety of different places and different disciplines. Some come from the traditional humanities, some come from social sciences, some come from other equivalent areas that seem to lend itself to what kind of debates and discussions we have on this course. But we get to think about what the media is and how it's integral to contemporary societies. This is the point where we integrate criticality with creativity, and students get an opportunity to be assessed by both an essay, but also by using, in this case, a podcast. They also have an opportunity to look at a unit called Media, Culture and the Economy. And this introduces students to the more economic and social models that are found within the creative industries. So really preparing our students for conversations about where this degree can take them in terms of their next journey. Clearly, because MA MCCP doesn't have quite that industry specific term within the title, our students on MA-CCP go to a variety of different postgraduate destinations across the creative media industries, including advertising, including public relations and marketing. Toward the second part of the degree, our students are given an opportunity to collaborate with an external source. This year it's the World Health Organization. But we also have units on media, mobility and culture, which is an opportunity for students to develop their audiovisual film practice. And we have a professional industries practice as well, which prepares our students for the next step. So, and again, the laptop freezes. No, it has a reason. So I'm assuming, Eva, this information is probably available on the website as well. But whilst I can talk to the specifics of the course, if you want to find out anything more about admissions, accommodations, student services, scholarships and fees and general inquiries, either screenshot this now, or if you're watching the recording, pause. So that with only 5 minutes to spare, but I'm sure we can populate those 5 minutes usefully. Were there any questions in the chat?
So we're waiting for questions to come from our audience, and if you do have further questions, please take this opportunity to write it in the Q&A tab of the platform. We do have a few here waiting for you. The first one is, given that there is no study proposal required when applying for the courses, sorry, not study proposal, but portfolio, what do you expect to see in personal statements for all of the 3 courses?
What we're looking for in terms of, you're right, the personal statement is the sort of silver bullet. What we're largely looking for is a really clear critical engagement with actually what the course is about. So an awareness of the dimension of the course, an interest in maybe the particular industry they're looking at. So for example, in MA advertising, we are situated within a media school. A lot of advertising courses are situated within a business school or a marketing school or a design school. So an awareness of what the degree can do is really very important. And so mainly it's evidence of a commitment that you really want to study this topic, and sort of sense that you have some kind of idea about what you want to get out of it. I don't know whether or not sorry, Ahenora, whether or not there's anything particular about the application process that you were aware of in relation to your application to public relations. Do you remember your personal statement?
Well, I don't remember exactly my personal statement. I'm just more so interested in the strategy and how media works. So those kind of things, how the public behavior and all of that is happening. So all those things were in my statement. But as I said in the beginning, when you asked me why I chose it, kind of those were the main things why from my personal practice. So maybe advice for everybody who is or wants to be part of those courses is to just say what they feel inside and what they want to gain out of it, or and what they can give for it to make their own portfolios, their own knowledge better, and build that from there. Yeah,
I think what you've just described is a real kind of commitment to the topic, in the same way that applications for media communications and critical practice is a course that has a very strong theoretical strand, a critical strand. There are practical elements within there, but the practice is dovetailed into that more general sense of a critical inquiry. So what we're looking for in applications for that unit is an awareness of the intellectual dimensions of the degree, as well as the practical, as well as the employment dimension of the degree, so that we know that should you come onto the course, you know what you're getting yourself into, and understanding the kind of intellectual debates that will be engaged with, as well as some of the more exciting creative aspects as well.
Thank you both. That's very elaborate explanation of the question. Someone here is asking, what would you say is the balance between theory and the practicality within the courses?
Well, that's a really very good question, and a question that does come up. And in fact, I set that up slightly by saying a balance between theory and practice. I would say in terms of the engagement, I think on paper it's something like 60-40, but to be honest, in terms of the student experience, we do our best to not differentiate between those two things, because thinking critically is a creative practice, and putting a creative piece in the world is a critical intervention as well, which means that it makes you more attractive to potential employers. So I would say that there is a percentage difference on paper, but in practice, the way students tend to experience that theory and practice balance, we always make, for example, something that is abstract relevant by situating it within a material kind of case study, and that case study has practical applications. So I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense, because it only makes sense because you asked me the question, but yeah, that balance is actually far more nuanced than a percentage weighting. And that's not me dodging the question. That's a genuinely honest response to how I think students engage with the theory creative practice balance.
Thank you both. I've got here someone asking, can you elaborate a little bit more? I know that there isn't direct opportunities for internships within the course, integrated within the course, or lined up afterwards, but are you able to give some examples of how students would go about approaching internships during or after their studies, and perhaps any examples of students who have gone away and actually done it?
I can give you an example of how the process works. If you wanted further examples of students who have, I'm aware of time as well, further examples of students who have gone on, who have had apprenticeships and have gone on, or had apprenticeships during the course, that does constitute part of the sort of the student journeys that you can find on the LCC website. It's just, I don't want to give a PR specific or MA advertising specific or MCCP specific example, but what I can say is the opportunities to engage with industry facing experience, let's put it like that, and apprenticeships is largely kind of embedded in terms of MA MCCP in their professional industry practice unit, whereby questions are where it's really designed to help students enter and engage with the industry, but not just in terms of apprenticeships, but also future employment opportunities. The way in which that unit and other units are developed, and the presence of industry organizations and speakers within units right across the postgraduate portfolio offer means that these are the points, or these are the touch points whereby students find these opportunities through these external people that kind of come through. Don't forget also that we have not just the core course team delivering the degree, but we also bring in lots of people from different forms of industry. Obviously, they also provide students with opportunities of providing internships, but we don't, you're right, embed that internship within the actual curriculum itself. One of the reasons being the master's degree is such a short period of time, to then embed a point where they leave the course and go on internship means that they'll be removed partly from their studies. So I would encourage whoever asked that question, thank you very much for the question. If you could, information about that and examples of that can be found on the promotional materials that we find on the websites for these courses.
Thank you very much.
I want to add up
that,
as you said, there are many guest speakers, and our teachers are also in the industry. So anybody who wants to ask any questions or be part of ask about the industry, they can. There are many options and situations where you can build your network through those guest speakers, and in a way to get out of your comfort zone and find internship or even a job through that. And the course, as we said, is creative, but also practical and theoretical. So it gives a great opportunity to build a portfolio and to build your CV and practice and be more confident when going to the industry or the buildings and showing what you learned, especially with your master project at the end. And those things are one of the main things that we actually offer through the courses, and which could help a lot and bring you up to those internships and work experience every students want. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for that contribution. That's fantastic, Eleonora. Thank you. And I would say, yeah, those, if any more information about this, and you have something about the course specific, if you go on to, if you just Google the MA courses that you're interested in through LCC, there's an extensive webpage which explains all the staff that are available, also contact details of the course leaders. So please don't be afraid to reach out to them and ask for kind of one-to-one conversations about these issues and anything else you want to find out about the course.
Thank you. And considering the time, we have one last question before we close the session. Jonathan, can you give a few examples where our students have gone on after they've graduated? And then there's a second part. Eleonora, are you okay to tell us a little bit, what are your plans after you finish your course?
Yeah, looking at the, I haven't provided that information, but I have got an example here, which I didn't show you before, of our graduate, sorry, I'm losing my, our graduate Gabrielle, who went on to work for a key kind of sorry, been a long day. Graduate destinations. We have examples of people who go on to work for D&D and other places in relation to advertising. And yeah, I would say, given the time, I would like to hear from Eleonora as well. I would say that those graduate success stories can be found on the website. But Eleonora, do you want to add?
Well, I could add, yeah. At the moment, as I said, I'm more into the strategy and people behavior and psychology. So I'm concentrating on going into the HR industry. I know many people from my course who already been into internships connected with fashion, and some went to publishing, journalism, even podcasting. So there are many things you can go for, and yeah, for more creative, for strategy thinking people. So everything is open, and yeah, in LCC you can be all you want to be, and any work you want to practice, it's possible to do.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you both for taking your time today to join us and talk about the communications and media program and the 3 courses within it in the postgraduate on the postgraduate level. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I hope you found the information useful. And if you do have further questions, are you okay to jump one slide back, Jonathan?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Do take a screenshot, as Jonathan inclined, of these email addresses and contact the teams. And similarly, please check out the course teams on the course pages and drop them an email if you have anything course specific related. This session is being recorded and we will share it with you in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for joining. That will be it from us. We hope to see your applications roll through this September or next September if you're doing early research. And we hope you have a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Yeah.